Park Ji-ho had mastered the art of dozing upright. Every evening, the 38-year-old assistant manager left the glass tower in Nyo-Ido, long after the janitors had begun polishing the lobby, shuffled onto the last Line 1 train, and told his body, "Stay awake until Sindorim." His body usually listened. On this particular Thursday, however, the quarterly closing reports had swollen past 200 pages. The fluorescent lights in accounting had buzzed like hornets, and fatigue pushed its thumb against his eyelids the moment the doors hissed shut behind him. He folded himself into the end seat, loosened his tie a millimetre, and dreamed of nothing at all. Stations blurred by. Yongsan, Yomyong, Seoul Station, somewhere. Beyond City Hall, he slid under a deeper layer of sleep, the kind that eats minutes in fistfuls. The carriage lights dimmed for energy savings. The other commuters thinned to a handful of nodding silhouettes, and no announcer woke him when the train rumbled past Sindorim without its customary shuddering stop. A metallic chime lower olderfully cracked the shell of his slumber. "Next station, platform 13, terminal stop. All passengers please, prepare for inspection." "Left station, platform 13, terminal stop. All passengers please, prepare for inspection." The voice rasped like an antiquated speaker pulled from a museum exhibit. Ji-ho's eyes flew open. "Platform 13? Seoul's numbered up to 10. He lurched to his feet, tie askew, phone at 3% battery. Outside the window, the tunnel stone looked rough-hewn, flecked with mica that caught the dim orange lamps. When the train braked, a cold wind whooshed through the carriage, though no doors had opened yet. Dust tasted of soil after heavy rain. With a clank, the doors slid apart, and actual lanterns, flame dancing behind horn panels, washed across mottled flagstones. A wooden sign inked in brush calligraphy hung above the platform edge. "In Nordedenyo, Station of Forgotten Kingdoms." Below it, in neuroacrylic letters obviously added later, someone had screwed in a Korean translation and a helpful English subtitle. "Transfer for realms long since lost." Ji-ho looked over his shoulder for the conductor, a security guard, anyone in a fluorescent vest. The carriage behind him was empty. A thought pounded through his temples. If he missed the morning roll call, HR would dock his monthly punctuality bonus 50,000 won. He could not spare after rent. "Bad dream?" he muttered. Stand up, walk to the other door, get back on the real line. But the doors behind him refused to open. Only the exit onto platform 13 gaped wide. Something unseen tugged at his sleeve, gentle yet insistent, like a subway's air pressure reversed. He stepped out. The moment his soles met the flagstone, the carriage interior went dark. Doors sealed, the train eased away without the pneumatic sigh common to Seoul Metro, instead emitting a deep, almost living groan as iron on iron echoed into the gloom. Ji-ho jogged after it, waving. Too late. The last carriage vanished into the tunnel's throat. "First-time tourist?" a voice asked. Ji-ho pivoted. A man in a dark blue stationmaster's uniform leaned against a stone pillar. The cut of the jacket matched no era Ji-ho knew. Copper buttons carved with cranes, a cap braided in silver thread, leather boots buffed mirror bright even in half-light. His face was young until one looked at the eyes, which held a patient antiquity. A brass badge read simply, K, Station Master. I fell asleep, Ji-ho stammered. "Need to get back to Sindorim. Big meeting at 9. There must be another train." The station master consulted a pocket watch whose hands ran counterclockwise. "Next return service departs at 4 minutes past the 69th hour, which your kind will calculate as sometime next century. But there are exceptions. Tools of negotiation, you might call them." Ji-ho's throat tightened. "Exceptions?" Platform 13 connects our world to the Forgotten Kingdoms. Kingdoms spelled in ink that has peeled from chronicles, sung in ballads nobody hums, ruled by sovereigns that fade whenever a history curriculum is revised. Mortals may pass through if they render tribute. Huh? Mortals may pass through if they render tribute, Legal repeated, hearing his own voice adopt the wary tone he used whenever Legal asked whether marketing had rights to a photo. I don't have money, only a T-money card and 1,701 in coins. The station master smiled sympathetically. They no longer trade in your coinage. What the monarchs of the forgotten value most is remembrance, something that ties the waking world to their dissolving borders. A yearly tribute of such tokens can purchase you a passage home. And if I don't pay, either remain here and seek employment at one of their courts. The station master gestured vaguely toward a stairwell where purple moss glowed faintly. Or gamble that the next return train arrives before your corporate overlords shrink your salary and possibly your existence. Jiho pictured his department head's face, the way her eyebrows arched with simultaneous pity and disappointment whenever someone clocked in late. He remembered the mortgage-sized student loans still shackled to his name. Remaining here was not an option. Fine. I'll negotiate tribute. I draft supply contracts all the time. How do we start? A glint sparked in the station master's eye, half amusement, half relief. The emissaries gather tonight for the eclipse convocation. Follow the violet rails. Mind the gaps. Some lead to years instead of meters. He produced a ticket punched from nacre rather than paper. Present this to the gatekeeper of the four courts. They'll hear your plea. Wait, Jiho said. I need to know exactly when the next homeward train leaves once tribute is accepted. Before the dawn bell of your world, the station master assured. Provided you are granted exit tokens from all four courts. He tipped his cap. And Assistant Manager Park corporate cunning may serve you, but courtesy will save you. The stairs led down rather than up, spiraling beneath the platform like a corkscrew drilled into memory. Each landing was labeled with dynasty names Jiho half recognized from textbook margins. Mahan, Tumna, Balhae. He descended until gravity felt optional, and violet rails emerged underfoot, humming with a vibration close to cello strings. At the tunnel's end lay a chamber the size of a sports arena, floored in mist. 4 raised thrones occupied the cardinal points, each bathed in its own color of light. Around them milled delegates, soldiers whose armor flickered between designs, scholars with scrolls that wrote themselves, merchants dragging wagons of objects blurred at the edges as though reality's resolution dipped. A herald struck a jade gong. Mortals brought by midnight rail may address the four courts, he proclaimed. Present tribute or petition. Jiho wiped sweaty palms on his trousers, stepped forward and bowed more deeply than he had in any boardroom. Honored monarchs, I am Park Jiho of Seoul, a humble salaryman. I overslept and disembarked at your gracious station. I ask permission to return before sunrise so that my wages are not reduced. In return, I pledge an annual tribute to be delivered faithfully. The throne in the north, carved of mirrored glass that reflected none of the surroundings, produced a voice, a man's, though it seemed to echo from inside Jiho's skull. What can the waking world still spare for kingdoms swallowed by footnotes? Jiho forced himself to breathe. Negotiation, he reminded himself, was 90% confidence. First, your luminance. I offer narrative equity. Heads turned. He pressed onward. Every year my world exports billions of words-webbed novels, podcasts, dramas. I can arrange, through legal but imaginative channels, for stories about your realms to infiltrate trending feeds. Each post, each meme, is remembrance. The southern throne, swaddled in river-green silk that dripped like water, spoke in a woman's voice rippling over stones. Fine words, mortal, but stories fade as swiftly as they flare. What physical pledge undergirds your promise? Jiho's mind sprinted through inventory. Things he could procure without bankrupting himself. An idea sparked. Umbrellas, he said. High-quality collapsible umbrellas branded with the sigils of your courts. My city buys millions come monsoon season. For the River Kingdom especially, umbrellas held aloft across Seoul will resemble a field of respectful bows. The Western Throne, a slab of basalt whose occupant wore a mask of chipped paint, issued a gravelly chuckle. A bribe of rain shields. Not bad, little clerk. Yet each year you must deliver, and lateness will cost more than salary. The basalt monarch leaned forward. Sparks of mica blinked like eyes. Specified deadlines, quantities, contingent. We respect contracts here. Bureaucracy! At last, something Jiho could grip. He requested parchment. An assistant produced a scroll of clouded vellum and drafted terms as though in a conference room. Deliverable, 10,000 monogrammed umbrellas. Year 1, rising 10% annually. Narrative, equity. Minimum 50,000 unique online mentions of each kingdom per annum, verified by mutually agreed analytics. Failure clause. Should Park Jiho miss delivery by more than 30 days, the 4 courts may levy a memory lapse, erasing one personal milestone, birthday, first kiss, graduation, per infraction. As he wrote, the delegates crowded to watch the mortal craft language cages around obligations. The masked basalt ruler supplied a pen that wrote in shining obsidian ink. Only the Eastern Throne remained silent. Where its occupant should sit, a swirling column of cherry blossoms formed a vaguely human outline. When Jiho finished, petals spun into a voice calm as dawn. All shows well on parchment, but will you remember promises made in this chamber, once fluorescent lights glare against your eyes again? Jiho touched the scroll, feeling warmth pulse through letters. Bind it to me, he said. Mark my wrist, my signature, my employee ID if necessary. So long as I draw breath and receive paycheck, I'll deliver. The cherry blossom figure extended an arm that became a tendril of petals, brushing his left wrist. Ink sank beneath his skin, coalescing into the stamp of the 4 courts, a circle quartered by 4 tiny symbols. Mirror, wave, stone, blossom, barely larger than a coin. It tingled, but didn't hurt. Tribute accepted, the column declared. 1 token of egress to the passenger. A single petal hardened into jade, dropping into Jiho's palm. Show it to the station master before dawn. Relief nearly buckled his knees. Delegates applauded, a sound like pages turning. The jade petal weighed almost nothing, yet felt heavy with rescued possibilities. Continued employment, pension contributions, the department store loyalty points he hoarded. A servant guided him to a side corridor. This way, back to the rail. Hurry, time's braid phrase at cockcrow. The corridor was shorter than his memory of the descent, depositing him onto platform 13 once more. The station master awaited, lantern raised. Congratulations, he said, examining the jade token. 4 signatures, not bad for a first-timer. Train home, Jiho asked between pants. Soon, the station master motioned toward the darkness. But remember, you now carry contractual weight that not even your corporate board could dissolve. As if summoned by their conversation, a headlight glowed in the tunnel, color of moonstone. The returning train emerged, same carriages yet subtly altered, windows reflecting constellations rather than fluorescent strips. The doors aligned. Jiho stepped inside, but before the station master could withdraw the ticket, Jiho stopped him. Earlier you said courtesy would save me. Why? Because courtesy is remembrance's twin, the station master replied. One day, when you deliver those umbrellas, these kingdoms will know you have not forgotten dignity either. He tipped his cap again and receded into lantern-lit gloom. Inside, the train smelled of wet ink and pine needles. Seats were empty, aside from a grandmother weaving straw sandals. She vanished the moment Jiho blinked. A scroll unrolled above the door, displaying estimated arrival 6:23 Seoul Standard Time. His digital watch read 5:52. Enough margin, barring cosmic delays. The train sped. Scenery outside cycling through impossible gradients, sand deserts becoming coral reefs, clouds inverted beneath tracks. Ji-ho pressed forehead to glass, doubting and believing simultaneously. By the time the carriage lights brightened to their familiar clinical hue, only 10 minutes remained before arrival. The PA chimed with the modern jingle. Next stop, Sindorim. Relief flooded him so hard he nearly wept. Doors parted. Regular commuters, bleary students, security guards ending night shifts flowed in, oblivious to the draft of cherry blossom fragrance that wafted out as Ji-ho exited. He hurried through ticket gates, down escalators, upstairs toward Line 2 transfer, mind already pivoting to ordinary worries. Should he grab canned coffee? Did he remember to attach the revised budget spreadsheet? But whenever he flexed his left wrist, the quartered circle warmed under the cuff. He punched in at 8:29, 1 minute before the threshold. The biometric scanner blinked green. HR's system would record punctuality. His bonus safe for now. Colleagues greeted him with yawns. Nobody noticed the scent of distant petals clinging to his blazer. During the morning meeting, as slide decks projected onto the wall, Ji-ho doodled umbrellas in the margin of his notepad. Each bore one of 4 symbols. He calculated suppliers' bulk rates, shipping schedules, marketing tie-ins. At noon, he received an email from facilities. Annual maintenance of the basement storeroom rescheduled to next month. Please remove personal items. The message triggered a memory of violet rails humming beneath flagstones. He closed the mail, opened a browser and typed Umbrella OEM, Korea. Over the next weeks he worked late, not from corporate coercion, but from an urgent, half-thrilling responsibility. He registered a shell company, Forgotten Holdings, Ltdt, and designed a simple logo quartered by subtle mirror, wave, stone, blossom icons. No one on the 20th floor questioned his new hobby of strolling rooftops at dusk, filming the city when neon reflected in rain slick, and quietly uploading footage under titles like Kingdom's Return. Spring came. Umbrella prototypes lined his tiny apartment. The cat he'd adopted during lockdown battered at them, sending raindrop-printed fabric blooming like flowers. Ji-ho laughed more these days, though sometimes after midnight he gazed at his wrist stamp, petals fluttering across memory, and wondered what milestone he would sacrifice should a shipping container run late. A year, like a well-oiled escalator, carried him inevitably to the anniversary of the convocation. On that night, Sindorim Station lay slick with shower-sprayed drizzle. Ji-ho wheeled a crate marked 1/100 onto the platform, the first batch, exactly 10,000 umbrellas shipped earlier that month. This final ceremonial case contained 4 prototypes personally monogrammed for each throne. As the clock struck 12, the overhead display flickered, briefly showing a non-existent train bound for platform 13. Lim. Ji-ho smiled, wrist tingling beneath his cuff. Somewhere below, kingdoms almost forgotten stirred, counting on the promise of a salaryman who had once overslept. He boarded the midnight carriage, crate at his feet, ready for inspection. The doors shut, the train glided forward, and behind him Seoul's electric lights receded like a memory. Still alive because someone tired, ordinary but courteous, chose not to let it die.